I want to start with the back of a girl's head. She was 18, walking up the center aisle of the Decatur West Kingdom Hall, past the brown carpet worn pale down the middle, toward the glass doors at the back. Nobody stopped her. That was the whole punishment, and I did not understand it for years. Her name was Trenisha. She was an unbaptized publisher, same as me. The autumn we were both 17, turning 18, and she had fallen in love with a boy from outside the truth. I am going to tell you what the elders did to her, but it was not a meeting in a back room, and it was not an announcement from the stage, not at first. The secret punishment for black JW girls who fall in love with an outsider is quieter than that, and it works before any committee ever sits down. It is a thing the congregation is taught to do with its body and its silence, and by the time a girl understands it is happening, she has already disappeared. I watched it happen to Trenisha across one season at Decatur West, off Memorial Drive. Months later, I married a brother. I took the path that was supposed to be safe. Stay in the room with me for this one. I am not asking you to subscribe so a number goes up. I am asking you to be a witness, the way no one was a witness for her. If you watched a girl get quiet and then get gone, and told yourself she chose it, add your voice below, so the next black sister about to fall in love hears that somebody saw. Tell me which empty seat you still remember. There were two of us in the third row from the back, on the sister's side. The autumn, we were 17. Trenisha and me. We were the same age within 4 months. We had both been raised in the truth at Decatur West, the black majority hall on the side street, the one my grandfather Joseph helped the brothers build with their own hands in 1987, the year before he stopped pioneering. We had both started in field service at 6 years old, holding a parent's hand, holding out the watchtower at a screen door. We were both unbaptized publishers that year, which is the in-between place. You are in, you are counted, you are not yet baptized, you are not yet fully accountable. We thought it meant we were safe. We thought it meant the worst they could do to us was talk to our fathers. We did not know yet that the worst thing this religion does to a young sister does not need a meeting, or a charge, or a single raised voice. Trenisha had a laugh that came up out of her like it surprised her every time. I remember the sound of it in the parking lot after the service meeting, the way it carried over the cars while the older sisters loaded their literature bags. I remember her sitting on the low brick wall by the entrance, swinging her feet, telling me she had met somebody. She did not say a name that first time. She just got a particular kind of light in her face, and I knew before she finished the sentence that he was not in the truth. You learn to hear it. A worldly boy lives in the pauses. I want to give you one thing that has nothing to do with the argument I am building, because it is just true, and I have carried it for 9 years. On the Saturdays back then, my Aunt Diane was already gone from the truth. She left in 2003. But she would sometimes be at my grandmother's, and there would be sweet potato pie from the bakery on Memorial Drive cooling on the counter, and the whole house smelled like nutmeg and brown sugar, and I was not allowed to really talk to Diane because she was disfellowshipped, and we limited our association. I bring her up here only because that smell is the smell of the same season Trenisha started disappearing. The pie and the girl are tangled together in my memory, and I cannot untangle them now. The boy's name came out a few weeks later. I will not say it, because he was a child too, and none of this is his to carry. He went to the high school the public school kids went to. He was kind to her, by everything she told me. He held doors. He asked her what she thought about things, which I want you to sit with, because a young sister in the truth is not often asked what she thinks about things. He asked, and she had answers, and the answers had been waiting in her for 17 years. And here is my confession, the first of it. I was the one she told. I was her friend. And the night she told me his name, sitting on that brick wall in the dark, the thing I felt was not happiness for her. It was fear, and underneath the fear, something worse, a small, clean feeling of being on the right side. I was the good one. I was the one who would marry a brother. I had already started telling myself that. So I said the thing a good young sister says. I told her to bring it to Jehovah. I told her the elders only wanted to protect her. I told her a worldly boy was a stumbling block. I gave her the organization's words in my own mouth, at 17, on a brick wall, to my best friend, and I felt holy doing it. She got quiet after that. Not all at once. The way a room gets dark in the evening. You do not see it happen. You just look up and it is already dark. I need to step back now and show you the machine, because the machine is the whole point, and most people who did not grow up in this never see it. They think the punishment in this religion is the announcement. They picture a man at a microphone saying a name has been disfellowshipped, and they picture the doors closing after. That is real, and it is brutal. But it is the last step, not the first. The first step has no microphone. The first step is a thing the elders set in motion with a few quiet conversations, and the congregation carries it out without ever being told to out loud. In the Elders' Manual, the book is called Shepherd the Flock of God, and the brothers keep it locked away. The rank and file are not supposed to read it. There is a whole architecture for what happens before a judicial committee and around one. There is marking. There is limiting fellowship. These are real terms with real instructions, and they describe a punishment that the organization can apply to a person who has not been formally found guilty of anything, who has not sat in front of 3 brothers, who has not been disfellowshipped. A young publisher who is conducting herself in a way that brings reproach can be quietly withdrawn from. The elders speak to a few sisters. The few sisters speak to a few more, and then nobody sits near her. Nobody saves her a seat. Nobody calls her to go in service. The greetings get shorter. The mothers steer their daughters by the elbow to the other side of the lobby. There is no notice. There is no charge read aloud. There is no hour she can point to and say, that is when it started. That is when they decided. There is only the slow subtraction of every warm thing until a girl is sitting in a full kingdom hall completely alone. The congregation does it with its body, with where the bodies sit and where they do not. And the genius of it, I use that word and it costs me, is that the girl cannot prove it is happening. If she says, everyone is avoiding me, they can say, nobody is avoiding you. You are imagining it. You are being prideful. You are making yourself the center. They can punish you and tell you the punishment is your own paranoia. That is the part that has no name in the manual. Now hold that against what was happening to me at the very same time, because the contrast is the whole story. While Trinisha was being subtracted, I was being added too. Months after that night on the brick wall, at a circuit assembly, a brother named Trey approached my father. He was 22, raised in the truth, the son of an elder from the East Atlanta congregation. He did everything the right way. He spoke to my father first, not to me. The courtship was 10 chaperoned months, never a room alone for more than a few minutes. And the entire machine that was quietly erasing my friend turned its warm face toward me. The same sisters who would not save Trinisha a seat saved me too. I was the example. I was what a young black sister at Decatur West was supposed to become. I married Trey in October of 2018, 18 years old, and the congregation celebrated me for choosing the exact opposite of what Trinisha chose. They were the same congregation, the same room. The reward and the punishment were poured out by the same hands. I will get to what finally happened to her in that hall. I promised you, and I keep my promises. But I needed you to understand that the punishment and the reward are not 2 different systems. They are one system, and it decides which one you get before you are old enough to know there was a choice. So here is what the secret punishment actually was, the thing the title promised you, and I am going to tell it the way it happened and not the way it sounds in your head. There was no dramatic scene. That is the first thing. I keep wanting to give you a scene, a confrontation, a girl crying in a back room, because that would be easier to watch. It was the opposite of a scene. Over a few months in the autumn we were 17, and into the winter we turned 18. Tranisha simply attended less, and every time she came back, there was less for her to come back to. The boy was still in her life. She had not given him up, which in the eyes of the hall was the whole offense, that she would not choose. And because she would not choose, the elders did the thing they do, which is they let the silence do the work a committee would otherwise have to do on paper. You have to understand the timing of it, because the timing is where the cruelty lives. They did not move fast. Fast would have been mercy in its way, a charge, a committee, a verdict, a door, and then a clean grief on the other side of it. Instead, it stretched. Weeks where she would still come to a Sunday meeting, and half the warmth she used to get would be gone, and she would not know which half or why. Her name stopped being read for the demonstrations on the service meeting. The sisters who used to text her about going in service on Saturday morning stopped texting. Nobody told her she was being withdrawn from. There was nothing to appeal because nothing had officially happened. A girl who has fallen in love with an outsider gets months of this, months of reaching for a hand that is being slowly pulled back and being told, if she dares to name it, that she is the one who has changed. I remember the last Sunday. I am sure she was there. She came in late after the opening song, and she went to our row, the third from the back, and there were two sisters already sitting where we used to sit. They did not slide down, they did not look up. They had been told something, or they had felt the temperature of the room and understood it without being told, which is how it usually goes. And Tranisha stood in the aisle for a second, just a second, holding her bag, and then she went and sat by herself in the very last row, against the wall, under the literature counter. And I watched her do it from 4 rows up, and I did not get up. I did not go sit with her. I had a brother courting me by then. I had a future to protect. I told myself sitting with her would send the wrong message. I told myself I was being spiritually wise. That is the punishment. Do you see it now? The punishment was that a hall full of people she had known her entire life, in the building her elders' fathers built, performed her absence while she was still in the room. They made her a ghost before she left. And the cruelest part, the part I did not understand until I was disfellowshipped myself years later and felt it from the inside. The cruelest part is that it looks like a choice she made. She walked out, so everyone gets to say she left. Nobody has to say we pushed her into the aisle, one cold shoulder at a time. There is a thing people who study this call social death, the death that happens to a person while their body is still alive and present. And I did not have that phrase at 17. I just had the back of her head going up the aisle toward the glass doors after the final prayer. Not fast, not crying, just done. The doors closed behind her with that soft pneumatic sigh they make. And that was the last time Tranisha was inside the Decatur West Kingdom Hall. There was never an announcement. They did not even get to disfellowship her. She was gone before the committee could convene, which means, in the official record, nothing was ever done to her at all. I want to be careful here, the way my grandfather Joseph would have wanted me to be careful, because the men who did this were not monsters, and I will not draw them that way. The elders who let that silence happen were black brothers in a black hall, men who had been handed the same manual their fathers were handed, men who believed with their whole hearts that a young sister entangled with a worldly boy was a soul in danger, and that withdrawing was love. They thought the cold was mercy. They thought if it stung enough, she would come back and be saved. They were wrong in a way that ruined a girl's whole young life, and they were not evil. And both of those things are true at once. And learning to hold both is most of what leaving this religion has been for me. And I was one of them. That is the confession I owe you in full. I was not an elder. I was a 17-year-old girl. But I did the same thing with my own body. I crossed to the other side of the lobby. I let a text from her sit unanswered for 3 days, and then I never answered it. And I told myself I was protecting my baptism, protecting my courtship, protecting my standing. I performed her absence too. When the older sisters subtracted themselves from her, I subtracted myself right alongside them, and I felt grown doing it. I was practicing. I just did not know that the thing I was practicing was how to disappear a person. 7 years later, 3 brothers would sit across a folding table from me in the back room of that same hall, the one Joseph built, and the whole congregation would perform my absence, and my own mother would cross Memorial Drive to keep from passing me on a sidewalk. And on the worst nights, I do not even think it is unjust. On the worst nights, I think it is Trenicia's text, finally answered. So that is what they do. That is the secret punishment, and it has been the same one the whole time. And I was inside it from both directions before I was 30. Let me tell you where the 2 of us are now, as much as I know it, because this is the part I get to keep. I have a notebook. It is cloth-bound, the kind they sold at the literature counter, and I kept my Bible study notes in it from the year I was baptized, 2014, until the year I left, 2024. 10 years. Most of it is meeting notes and scriptures and the small, obedient handwriting of a girl trying to be good. But on one page, near the front, there is a list I made when I was 17, titled Ones to Pray Back. It was a list of people who had left, that I was supposed to pray would return to Jehovah. Trenicia's name is on that list, in my own hand. I wrote it the week she disappeared. I wrote it as a good sister doing a righteous thing, praying my friend back into the room that had erased her. I still have the notebook, on the pine and cinder block shelf I built in my apartment in Decatur. I do not pray her back anymore. When I look at her name now, I do not ask Jehovah to return her to the hall. I hope she is somewhere with that boy, or some better one. Somewhere her laugh still comes up out of her like it surprises her. Somewhere nobody has ever heard the word marking. I do not know where she is. We were never able to be friends again, because I chose the hall over her on a brick wall when it counted, and that is mine to carry. If you grew up in a Black Kingdom Hall in Atlanta, or in any hall anywhere, and you watched a girl get quiet and then get gone, and you stayed in your seat because you had a future to protect, I see you, and I am not going to tell you it was your fault, because you were a child being trained to do it. If you were the girl who walked up the aisle while everyone studied their songbook, I see you, and I am so sorry, and I hope you know now that it was never you who left. If you are 17 right now, and you have just met someone from outside, and the room is starting to get cold, and they are telling you it is in your head, it is not in your head. Somebody saw. I saw. I am writing her name where you can read it. The hall does not own you. I am the proof.